Welcome, everyone, to the Better Love Movement podcast, where you will finally learn how to intentionally do dating and relationships right. My name is Anita Stoudmire, and I'm a licensed professional therapist and your personal love mentor. I've worked with thousands of singles and couples, giving them the skills needed to attract and keep the amazing love they desire. It's my heart's work to help people to get the skills needed to not only become the very best versions of themselves, but to help them grow and evolve emotionally and relationally. You can absolutely have the romantic relationship of your dreams. Come and let me show you how. Welcome, everyone. Welcome back again to a brand new episode of the Better Love Movement podcast. My name is Anita Stoudmire, and I am your resident therapist and host for the Better Love Movement podcast. So this week, we are in episode number 147, and the show is entitled The Spirit of Desperation: Why You Are So Unhappy When You Are Single. So today I am talking to Yonci at Chasing Yonci over on Instagram. Let me tell you a little bit about Yonci. Yonci is a mindset coach disguised as a dating coach. She helps hopeless romantic women of faith enjoy dating without being emotional wrecks. Welcome, Yonci.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. So we are going to talk a little bit about the spirit of desperation. Tell me what you mean by that.
So, spirit of desperation, I don't know how deep you go on your in your interviews or how much you want me to go deep, but there is a spirit realm that some people are not aware of. They see the physical, they see a woman standing before you with eyes and ears. But there's a spirit also. I like to say we are spirits encased in the flesh. We're encased in our bodies. And so a lot of times people are having a spiritual ailment and they come to me as a dating coach because they feel that their heart is broken or they've been disappointed by a man. But the reality is a lot deeper. Their spirit is desperate. And I believe that it is from a spirit of desperation. And I believe that there are attributes of the enemy. And I believe that we see certain attributes, just like there are attributes of God. When we feel love, that's one of his attributes. If we feel fear or desperation, that's an attribute of the enemy. And so I believe that when we are not close enough to God, we feel these attributes, and one of them is a spirit of desperation, and it starts to take on our spirit, and we are suffering from that.
Okay. Wow. So you mentioned about why a woman might not be, happy when she's single. And so speak to that a little bit. I know a lot of the women that I work with, they really struggle with their single journey, their single season. They're really struggling with that. Speak to that a little bit.
So I think the reason why women are struggling is because they have fallen for the okie doke. And I don't mean that like making fun. I really empathize with women. And the reason why I know this is because I was her, I was she. And I had a whole husband and I had a spirit of desperation. So you think, well, how can you have a husband and still be desperate? It's because I realized way later there was a form of idolatry happening in my life. And as a child of God, God is not going to let you serve idols. He says, have no other gods before me. And I had in my heart, in the altar of my heart, I have been worshiping men. I worshiped the idea of a man loving me, but it came out of an innocent need. We all as spirits need to feel pure, everlasting, unadulterated love. That's normal. No one teaches a kid, hey, you should need to feel loved. They naturally crave it. There was a study done, if I could have a little tangent, there was a study done where orphans were taken and they wanted to see the difference between the ones who were just given their physical needs, food, milk, whatever, and then the ones that were nourished. with love. They were cuddled and kissed on and cooed and talked to. And I don't want to say incorrectly because it's been so long, but I think some of them perished, if not all. Like it was a really drastic result of study. Have you heard that study?
I have.
So we have an innate need for love just as much as we have our physical need for nourishment. And so we as women, we have messaging that we're bombarded with all day long. And it speaks to that need because a good marketer recognizes a need and offers a solution.
Right.
So the message says, hey, lady, you have a need for love. I got the solution. If you can get a man, all your problems will be answered. So what do? They sell us lipstick. If you can be pretty enough with this lipstick, you can get a man. If you wear this outfit, you can get a man. If you go to this location, you can get a man. And everything keeps telling these women, if you can get a man, you will feel loved.
Right.
And because we are so programmed that way, the opposite is true. If we don't have a man, we perceive that we're not loved. So that is why women are so stressed out when they are single, or like me, in a relationship, but not receiving love from a man in their love language.
Right, right.
We feel that we are depraved of love, and that is hell on earth.
Well, one of the things that I have been speaking about for about a year now, since my last book came out, is I talk to women quite a bit about the different types of love. Like I want them to open themselves up to all the different types of love. Eros, which is the romantic form of love, is just one form of love. But there are so many others. There's like the friendship love. There's the love of your children, the love of God. I love my pets. I love my gardening. There's so many things that I love, the love of my family, the love of myself. So what I've been talking to women about over this past year is we have to expand our concept of love. It can't be so small so as to say, it must be from a man, because what happens when that's not the case? Like you said, you feel unloved, you feel unvalidated.
Yes. I love that you brought up the different types of love, and I'm going to touch on that if that's okay.
Yeah.
So I love studying the original language, the Hebrew and the Greek of the Bible, because English were so limited. And as you mentioned, the word love, we read love on the page, the page, and we just think love, and that encompasses everything. I love eating French fries and I love my children. But in the original language, I believe it's the Greek, as you mentioned, there's the eros, that more sexual, more our romantic love, and then phileo, like the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, and then agape is that eternal love, and that love umbrellas everything. If we tap into that one, the other ones are just cherry on top. Because if I could desire having children, but if for whatever reason I'm not blessed with having children, how sad would it be to think that I could never experience love? Or if I never get married, how sad to think that if a man doesn't choose me, or I don't find someone that I'm compatible with to choose him back, I can't have love. So God is so gracious that when we connect back to him, he takes away that hunger pain, because we all know what it feels like when you're starving. And I like to use analogies. And so it's kind of like when you're going somewhere and you don't want to be starving, but you want to leave a little room for eating, but you don't know how good of a cook. Maybe you're going to someone's house. You eat enough to where it doesn't allow you to feel hangry, because then you're no fun for anybody. You eat just enough so that you're not starving, so you can keep your right mind. I feel like that's how it is with God. I don't feel any longer that I am desperate for a man, but it doesn't mean that I'm closed off and not open to it, or I'm unbothered. I'm still going to be excited if a man interests me and asks me out, and I'll experience all the butterflies. It's not this drastic, now I want to become a nun and I just serve God and I don't care about anything on earth. It's not, and I feel like a lot of times religious zealots make it extreme or shame you for even wanting a man. There's no shame in wanting one. But when you become debilitated emotionally to where you're not enjoying life, which was me, I became clinically depressed. That's when it's a problem.
Yeah. Yes. And I'm coming across a lot of women like that. I'm having to teach them how to enjoy their own company, enjoy the company of women, enjoy the company of their family or their friends. Um, for me, as I love to tell people, I experience love in so many different ways. I experience love on my walks in the morning. I experience love watching the animals that I like to feed in my backyard. I experience love cooking a good meal. There's just so many ways. So I've been really opening women up to this idea that love is not just, from a romantic partner. And so, like you said, when you're filling yourself up with all the forms of love, you're not walking around desperate. You're not, seeing in the eyes of every man, could you be my husband? Could you be my husband? Like, I
And
don't know.
what's so ironic is because it's like this crazy twist. When you no longer feel desperate, you are the most attracted to the guy.
Right. That's it.
And the one who wants him the most, she's turning him off because he could sense it, he could smell it, sheer desperation. And I work with a lot of guys, and the guys say, I worry if she really likes me,
right,
or if I'm filling a fantasy. She needs to insert guy here, kind of like the cake popper. She already got the dress, the cake, the bride topper. She just needs to insert the guy, and any old guy will do. And a lot of guys are fearful of that. And it's valid because there are so many women who are so desperate. The first guy that gives them attention, they latch onto.
Right. And let me tell you, that's a dangerous thing. I experienced that a little bit myself when I've always had a timeline for my life and when things should happen. And I had that 30 years, at 30 years old, I was going to get married timeline and have a first child by 31 and have more children. I had these timelines. And unfortunately, I wound up doing something kind of just like that. It just so happened that the timing of the person I met who became my husband happened around that time. And he was not the best fit for me, but it was a timing thing. Yes. So that's something I've had to learn in the 18 years I've been studying relationships is I do believe timing plays a part. But I also know that, we've got to be willing to say, okay, but if this person isn't the best fit for me, regardless of the timing, I might have to, walk away from this.
Being okay with letting go.
Yep. And that takes work and maturity to say, this guy checks a lot of boxes, but he might not be the best fit for me. So I totally get it. Totally get it. So how do you talk with women that you can sense or feel that they have this spirit of desperation, whether it's, for me, and I'll be honest, for me, marriage was somewhat of an idol. Marriage was an idol for me in the sense of, okay, that validates me, that confirms me. I feel chosen, whereas now I see, I really need to have the best fit man for me. We need to come together. We need to have a purpose for our union. There has to be something bigger. And so I finally get that now, but then it was all about, well, I have to do this. I have to check this milestone off. And, that makes me feel validated. That makes me feel like somebody. Yeah. So how do you work with women when you notice that might be something at play?
Yeah. So normally that's the criteria for working with them. So all my women, I love you women, but all the women that I actually coach one-on-one, they do have that spirit of desperation for the most part. And so what I have to do is first educate them in their mind, because the spirit realm isn't something that you just tap into. You have to kind of gradually ease into it, and it requires faith because it's not something that I can see or hear or touch. And so first I speak and I let them know what's happening, what is happening in the supernatural. And then they can start to then realize, oh, okay, in the natural, I experienced this, but what's really happening is that. So for example, when thoughts come, usually it's a woman who's trying to get over a guy. Right. And so when a thought comes, I teach them how to take those thoughts captive. Most people don't realize that thoughts are merely suggestions. They are not you.
Yep.
You have to choose to marry that thought and bring it into your spirit. And so if a suggestion comes in, hey, it's not that fun being alone tonight, why don't you give him a call, even though you know he's no good?
Right.
Because they don't realize that they can choose that suggestion or dismiss that suggestion, they by default choose it. So they keep choosing it and keep choosing it, and it keeps hurting. And then they have this out of body experience. I don't consciously want this, but I keep doing this thing. Right. I don't want to hit myself, but I keep hitting myself. And then of course the guys judge him like, that's dumb. Why are you doing that? They don't realize it's a spirit. They're feeling compulsion because they don't know that they can fight it. Right. And so once they understand, oh, not only can I fight it, but here are the tools to fight it, you see the light bulb turn on and they start to become victorious. The other biggest thing I will say is this. Most people don't understand the order that they're supposed to move. They are supposed to make a decision, act on the decision, and then as a result, they feel. You mentioned a walk. You made a decision. You wanted to go on a walk. You went on your walk. And as a result, you felt love because you looked at all the beauty around you or whatever made you happy, right? Yep. So what most people do is they feel first, then they act, and then they think. I don't feel loved. Therefore, I'm going to stay inside my house. That's all gloomy and dark. Yep. And now I think I'm depressed. Right. They go backwards. I think I'm depressed because I keep feeling this way. No, feeling is the end result, but you must be the one in charge. Spirit must be in charge to decide to take action, who will then start to feel.
Right. And one of the things we know, what I like to tell people is when you're tapping into that higher self, that spirit, that is your higher self, right? We all have the ability to do that. Now, the flesh is weak. The flesh wants what it wants. Okay. And the flesh is going to tell you to do a whole lot of things to make it feel good, but it may not have long-term satisfaction. It's just like I tell my ladies, we have to know the difference between gratifying our flesh and satisfying our spirit. One is a long-term game. The other one is okay, I'm going to call my ex and he'll come over today.
Yep.
But where will that leave you a week from now or 2 weeks or 2 months or 2 years? Like, no, at some point you have to buy into the long-term satisfaction.
And there's usually, I'm sorry, I'm going to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
There's usually fear involved.
Yeah.
And this is the sniff test that I tell women to do. I said, if you notice, for example, that smell when your stove is, turned on and you smell that gas smell, you drop everything, you pay attention. I tell women, be on guard for the sniff test of fear. If you notice you feel a compulsion rooted in fear, there's something that's not of God. That's that suggestion from the enemy. So just like the example I gave earlier, I'm alone. I don't feel good being alone. I'm going to call. Well, if we really stop, this feels like a compulsion because I didn't consciously choose to want to call him. This is a compulsion. And you dig all the way to the back of it, which is where the fear is hidden. What's the fear? Oh, the fear is that I'm going to be alone if I don't call.
That's it.
But when you sniff out that fear, it's a telltale sign that you almost got me.
Yep.
That one is not from God. That's from the enemy, and the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. So when I feel like when we see it as an enemy that's coming to rob us or steal from us or try to kill us, it gives us this indignation that we kind of need to get fired up.
Yeah.
And when I realize that this is just an illusion, he's playing tricks with my mind in order so that I can self-sabotage. Right. I'm not going to give him that satisfaction.
That's right.
And I speak truth. And when you speak the truth, you are set free from his lies. And he will keep whispering the deceitful stuff, the lies to you, until he realizes you really do mean the truthful statement. And so a lot of times when they speak that truth, it's in faith. Well, I know this is the truth. They don't really feel it, but they say it. I keep saying it. You say it often enough, it settles in your spirit, and you then can say confidently, I am not alone.
Right.
And I would rather be alone. Even if I was alone, I would rather be alone than to be with someone who is not part of my purpose. And when you keep using that logic that God gives you, that wisdom, when you have clarity, then it becomes easier to win those little tiny battles that normally add up to being that war that gets lost.
Mm-hmm. So fighting against these thoughts, these suggestions, that's powerful information. And sometimes, as I tell ladies, you'll have good days and you'll have not so good days. You'll have days where you're ready to fight against these thoughts. You're ready to say, that's a lie. That's not true. And then you'll have other days where you're like, oh, it's harder for me to fight.
Yeah.
What are some other suggestions you can give people if, let's say, they are having one of those days where they're feeling especially weak?
Yes. So I say your very first line of defense, which should happen every single day, is to sacrifice. So we go in the Old Testament and we look at what God loved. He loves sacrifices, and we don't understand it. I'm not going to pretend to understand what a burnt sacrifice and all. I don't get that.
Right.
But I see the pattern. God loves the sacrifice. And so when I can sacrifice my time, my comfort, my energy, that is already putting me leaps and bounds in front of the enemy because it's guarding me. I'm getting an extra dose of God's protection. So I'm going to sacrifice my time by getting up 10 minutes early. 10 minutes is the minimum. 10 minutes early. I'm going to sacrifice my comfort. I'm going to get on the floor. And I'm going to sacrifice my energy. I'm going to pray and I'm going to worship and I'm going to read. When I start my day off like that, boy, it is like another level. By the time you get up, music shifts the atmosphere. Jason Nelson has a song, Shifting the Atmosphere. And even the unbelievers have studied this in science. It shifts the atmosphere, the vibrations, your energy, all this stuff. So it's kind of hard to get off on the wrong foot when you start out in this powerful stance. You're all pumped up for the day. But let's just say the day does go on. And like you said, something puts you in a little funk. One of the things you can always do, go back to music. Have your rapid fire playlist that you could take out the enemy. So we know that song, and don't worry, guys, I won't sing. But that song, I believe it's William Murphy, Praise Is What I Do. I think Shekinah Glory might have been the first one to sing it. Or I don't know, but one of them sings it. And you sing prophetically. You sing. I don't care if it's even Pharrell's Because I'm Happy. As long as you're speaking truth and you're speaking things that you want to come into fruition, you sing it until you feel. Remember, think, act, and as a result, feel. So I have had times where I was really upset and crying, and I'm sniveling through my tears and I'm forcing myself to dance. And what's so funny is your body gets confused. Just like the enemy is confused, your body gets confused because your body's like, I thought we were depressed. And you're like, we're dancing. And as you keep dancing and singing, your body's like, I feel a smile coming on. You're like, oh, it is coming on. And it tricks your body. I had a situation, this isn't dating related, but this is the same principle. I get alerted on my cell phone when a package gets delivered. And so the package, I went outside and I waited like a good 15 minutes, but the guy was still there delivering them. And it's almost like UPS boxes. It's all these boxes. So he's scanning in, scanning in. So I must have been one of the first ones. So I get in there and most of the people will say, they see you standing there and they're like, oh, you want to, get your package. They'll just wait a second. He did not for that. So I'm like, that's weird. And I'm limited on time. So I'm trying to get my package. And I said, well, I'm just going to go to the kiosk. Still no consent. He's not giving me verbal or nonverbal consent. And I'm like, now I don't know what to do because it's his screen. And it's still the delivery guy's screen. And I'm like, do I push this? He still doesn't say anything. So at this point, I'm like, you know what? I can tell. And he was like, he was fuming.
All right.
I was like, whoa, I've never seen this guy. So he was fuming. And I said to myself, you know what? It's not worth it. This is such an awkward moment. I'm just going to let this go. But I started to feel, this is what I tell the women, you usually will feel it in your body too. When it's not of God, you'll feel a physical discomfort. So my chest got really tight. That's one of my top 3 places where I feel is my chest. When I get angry, my chest gets tight. So this feeling came over me, the suggestion, what a jerk. What a jerk. What a jerk. It just, and I'm just, this happens within seconds though, but in my head, and I'm receiving it at first, but I'm battling it because I don't like this feeling and I don't like feeling angry. It's not of God. And then I start judging him in my mind and what kind of a man, doesn't he know he's working for us? This, whatever. So in that moment, I just started to speak truth. And I said, it's not about me. I said it in my spirit. I was far enough away to walk away. I just said, you know what? I'll come after work.
Yeah.
And I walked away and I said out loud, it's not about me. It's not about me. It's not about me. And the first 4 or 5 times I said it, my chest still hurt. I had to repeat it all the way until I got to my doorstep, and my chest didn't stop hurting until right about me turning the key.
Right.
And the Lord was able to speak to me once I got my emotions calm. And he said, what do you think that man could have been going through to put him in that much of a stressful state? You don't know what if his boss got on him. You don't know if he's risking losing his job if he doesn't, keep up with the schedule. You don't know if his wife just called and cussed him out. You don't know what he could have a sick child.
Right.
And in that moment, I could have been so caught up that I added to his stress. And that's why I said this isn't a dating example, but it's an example of how you cannot let the feeling lead you. Because if I did, I would have been in that funky headspace.
Right.
I would have been pissed off. And now I have to jump on a coaching call. And now I'm supposed to be helping a woman who's in this state. So this stuff is real, y'all. And even though I'm not going through the battle with the dating phase, you will use these principles throughout the rest of your life to stay in a space of peace where we are intended to be. So that's a very long-winded answer to your question.
Yeah. But that was a good one. That was a good one. And like you said, our mindset is everything. What we choose to do with those thoughts and suggestions is everything.
Yeah.
So that's a skill that we can all learn and use in so many different ways.
Because who wants to walk around feeling that?
Right.
Like I feel it in my chest. I either will get a tightness where it feels like my lungs are going to explode and my chest cavity is too full, or I'll feel a racing heartbeat, which feels like a heart attack. That's not fun. Or if I'm nervous, I'll get a lump in my throat. Like I feel like to swallow so hard. Or I get a knot in my stomach. So that's not fun. And we know that having those negative feelings for a continuous amount of time can lead to physical ailments. So this is serious. It's more than just, it's annoying being lovesick. You can actually make yourself sick. My girlfriend is convinced she gave herself cancer, and I'm in agreement because she was harboring so much anger towards her ex-husband. And so it's this stuff is real.
I agree. And so we got to watch our mind, our thoughts, the words we say. I believe all of it is connected. It's all connected.
I'm so glad you're doing this topic because more people need to hear this stuff.
It's
real.
Awesome. So thank you so much for joining me today on the podcast, Yonci. Is there a product or service that you would like to tell my listeners about?
Well, I have a couple of things. Of course, I do. Thank you for the opportunity. Of course, I do one-on-one coaching. So if anybody really needs to get in the trenches and figure out how this works, you could just DM me the word help. You could see my handle right there. I also have a book. I have a book, First Date 101, A Man's Guide to Dating a Man. I interviewed over 1,000 men and asked them what it was that they loved about first dates and what did they hate about first dates. And I compiled it into a little guide. So I would say those are probably the top two. I'm always giving away stuff, so they can join my email list if they want more, but that's the main thing. And then if they want free content, I'm everywhere: YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, you name it, I'm there.
Awesome. So ladies, I am going to put all of this information in the show notes. I'm going to put Yonci's Instagram, her YouTube, her website, her Facebook, and her TikTok, so that you can follow her. If you want to learn more about her, you can go on to her website. As she mentioned, she has one-on-one coaching, and she has some really interesting books on there. So please go over there and check her out. Please follow her, like her content, because as you all know, this is how content creators are able to make more free content for you. So that is super, super important. And check out her YouTube channel. I was checking out a couple of videos on your YouTube channel. Thank you so much for being on this week. Ladies, if you are not subscribed to the podcast, I'm not really sure what's happening, but I would ask you to go to the platform that you listen to podcasts on, and please subscribe to the podcast. You can also watch the video and audio portion of the podcast on my YouTube channel, Better Love Movement. So head on over there. Please subscribe to the channel, like this video if it was helpful to you. And you can learn more about me and the services that I offer on my website, betterlovemovement.com. I thank you so much. Thank you once again, Yonci, for joining us this week. Ladies, as always, stay open to love. Thank you for listening to today's podcast episode. If you are enjoying this podcast, please leave me a 5-star rating and review. Your ratings and reviews help me to continue to bring you more great content. Head on over to YouTube and check out the Better Love Movement channel. There's more video content there, and you can subscribe to be notified when a new video is posted. If you have a question that you would like to have answered on the podcast or in a YouTube video, please send it to me at info@betterlovemovement.com. You can also connect with me directly on the Magnify app to have your dating and relationship questions answered. That's MAGNIFI, and it's available on iOS and Android. You get your first 5 minutes for free. So give me a call and let's chat. So you found the man who makes you feel unlike any other, and you are dating him exclusively, or you are in a committed relationship or marriage. Now what? The work is actually just beginning, ladies. It's how you now show up every day that will determine the health and happiness of your relationship. I wrote this book especially for women who desire to have the feminine skills necessary to get the best out of their man. Men are actually not that complicated. And if you are open to learning about them, you can have the relationship or marriage of your dreams. Get your copy of the brand new book, Do Well, A Feminine Woman's Guide to Relationship Success, on Amazon today.